I need you right now. Me? For what? When my big sister needed me, I was 17 and she was 20. Katie told me she needed me when she had brain cancer. About a year into her diagnosis, my brother and I were headed out the door to get ice cream. When she asked to go, I said yes, but this wasn't my best day as a caregiver. I slipped and I was tired and showed on my face that I was reluctant to bring her. In that moment, I was balancing supporting my terminally ill sister and my own youth mental health. Katie's message stuck with me. She told me she needed me on her team to fight cancer too. She needed help. I live with the guilt of moments like this where I couldn't fill her cup. Why did I feel and act this way? This moment, among countless others, will live in my mind forever. Moments like this aren't just memorable, they're really common. According to the National Cancer Institute, 40.5% of US men and women will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime, meaning in a family of 5, 2 will get cancer. That's 2 people set to go through chemotherapy, radiation, treatments, and the works. But what that statistic doesn't reveal is the fact that the rest of the family will be supporting every step of the way, and so will their best friends, their significant others, their bosses, their coworkers, workout buddies. That's a lot of people, and the fact is, if you haven't had yet to be that person, you very likely will. It felt alienating to have a terminally ill sister at such a young age. I felt that I couldn't relate to my peers, and even the well-intentioned hospital handouts meant to help, they just added to my confusion. I remember one trifold pamphlet was an FAQ that I got that was for siblings of those facing cancer. One of the questions read, if my sibling has cancer, will I get cancer too? What? I never thought of that. And then I started to, and it only created clouds of confusion over my vision and judgment. Having a terminally ill sister, I soon learned that being on the team to support someone as they face cancer is difficult. So difficult that it drove me to do things and say things that I wish I didn't do or say. Katie was at college when she was diagnosed, and after she was diagnosed, my parents said I should call her. I just replied with, she'll come home soon enough. I'll talk to her then. I told my siblings, why are you posting about Katie online? This is her journey, not yours. Even while Katie told me in one of her most vulnerable moments, Josh, I can't believe I'm going to have cancer for the rest of my life. Once I told my terminally ill sister in a heated conversation, you know what, Katie, this is hard for me too. Unsurprisingly, this was met with opposition from my entire family and Katie. My family told me, easy there, Josh, not the time. Katie rightfully doubled down and said, Josh, I'm the one with cancer. I spoke like this because I fundamentally misunderstood what she was going through and what she needed. I was numb, thinking selfishly, Katie is terminally ill. She's in pain. She's different now. She's not the sister I knew. And she'll pass of cancer eventually. Looking back, it hurts me to remember these thoughts. I pushed her in her wheelchair, helped her up the stairs, and I laughed with her, but I made mistakes. Years later, today, I'm here to tell you what I wish I knew and what I learned, because statistically, we're all highly likely to be in the same position that I was in. Maybe you have been, maybe you are now, or maybe you will be. You may be connected to the nearly 2 million people that will be diagnosed with cancer this year in the United States. Katie, she talked a lot about just wanting to feel normal. Mixed in between brutal chemotherapy sessions was everything bagels with cream cheese, binge watching Friends, and rolling around on the floor with our black lab dog Gator. Katie was the type of person that everybody would want to know. So when I was on the swim team in 4th grade, my best friend was getting bullied, and she offered to go in there and show him who was boss. We'd always go for rides to Cane's world-famous donuts in Salem, Massachusetts, in my grandpa's 1996 Toyota Celica white stick-shift convertible that he actually bought for himself as an I Survived Cancer gift. The donuts were amazing. The top was broken, but we didn't care. Katie loved that car. Every trip was fantastic. Chemotherapy, radiation, and therapies are what decides people's fate with cancer. That's what I was told. So what did she need me for? So my brother and I struggled to process her terminal diagnosis. We tried our best. We sometimes sat and pondered what a funeral would look like. Doing the casual things like talking about TV shows at the dinner table felt right because Katie wanted to, but wrong because it wasn't the reality that we were living in. Why did she want to feel normal when nothing felt normal? Wasn't she going to die soon? And she did in July of 2021. The day she died, it felt like the clouds subsided. My vision, presence, and ability to think felt it returned at 6 p.m. on July 10th of 2021. Felt like an odd clarity. So it was time to start anew. I thought to myself, finally, I could be a kid again. A month after she passed, I started classes at the University of Texas at Austin. Even though I had just been a cancer caregiver for the past 3 years, I had no idea that 600,000 people die of cancer every year in the United States. And it even took me months to tell my freshman year roommate that my sister died a month before. I hid in my shell thinking, finally, freedom. But I soon learned that when I opened up about my family and Katie's story, it inspired people to suddenly deeply listen, cry, and reflect. It made people think. I realized that avoiding talking about cancer, like usual, wouldn't just hurt me. It would be an opportunity lost to enable others to do the same. I decided to honor Katie's memory because I saw the shared vulnerability that it gave us all. It made my peers cry. So I looked for something to do about the disease, and finally I found it. I was going to bike 4,000 miles from Texas to Alaska to fight cancer. Called Texas 4000, I joined 77 other UT students to raise money and awareness for cancer research and support services. Over 18 months, we fundraised, planned, and trained for the whole thing. And it was through each pedal stroke and each shaken hand that I realized anybody can fight cancer, in a lab or out, with the disease or not. So I made it my sole mission to fundraise for the cause. I thought that this was the most crucial thing I could do to fight cancer. I was fortunate enough to raise $60,000. My team and I, we worked hard to fundraise for the cause, and I acknowledge that part of fighting cancer happens in a lab. But what we did on 2 wheels, in people's homes and in their local gas stations, made me realize that relationships have power. Chemotherapy, radiation, and research aren't the only thing that can help. I remember thinking to myself on train rides back and forth from Mass General Hospital, Katie is terminally ill. She's in pain. Why won't she let go? And after she died, my perspective did a 180. I went from asking, she's in pain, when will she die? To asking, how do I enable others to live longer and better? Once I realized that millions of dollars go to clinical trials for drugs that may never go to market, I reflected deeply on why I was raising money and what it could do. Katie was a lover of theater summer camp. She loved the goofy way that she was asked to prom. And she always thought that life was fun if you made it fun. I was heartbroken that Katie couldn't bike next to me, but I knew that there were people alive that I could spend time with. Laura in Louisiana told me she was living with thyroid cancer. Matt in Montana told me he was diagnosed with colon cancer last week. And Tim in Anchorage said he was a survivor, but still trying to keep his health up. Matt in Montana, when we met him, he told us he had told nearly nobody about his diagnosis, not even his son. But after we met and talked about his journey and shared some of ours, he said it was time to tell his son. All of these interactions and countless more ended in a hug and a sigh of relief, then to stories and laughs. And we left with single tears, prolonged smiles, and lifted spirits about this cancer thing. It felt like we needed each other. My clipped bike shoes and my zip-up jersey, how could they have needed me? Was it just like my sister wanting to feel normal? On that transformative summer, I realized it was. We needed each other. According to the Journal of Clinical Oncology, married people are less likely to die than unmarried people while facing a cancer diagnosis. A Kaiser Permanente study found that isolated women facing breast cancer are 64% more likely to die of the disease. The American Cancer Society found that people facing cancer with a strong social support network adjust better to the change that cancer brings, often have a more positive outlook, and report a better quality of life. So what does this have to do with my sister facing brain cancer, my journey across North America? Connection and deep relationships can bring truly impactful results. Money, medicine, and treatment saves lives, but so do drives to get donuts. My sister was originally given 6 months to live at age 20, yet she survived nearly 3 years with brain cancer. Yes, she tried many new drugs, but I believe her commitment to feel normal and the social support around her, it was what truly gave her more time. Was she trying to be normal? Maybe. Was she trying to connect on a deeper level? Definitely. If I could have you take away one thing from this talk, I'd tell you this. When the time comes that you have to support somebody through cancer, know that the depth in which you connect will empower both you, and more importantly, your loved one, to live. After years of dealing with my sister's death and 4,000 miles on a bicycle, I'm here to say that you have the power to improve someone's life with cancer beyond drugs, treatment. They need you. Cancer will touch our friends, family, and people we love. So when it does, be the person to lift someone up and give them life. We now know that the treatment regimen for cancer goes far beyond chemotherapy and radiation. It involves you, the life giver, the connector. The way you connect with those facing cancer can truly save their life and transform yours. You have the power to give laughs, single tears, and prolonged smiles, normalcy, and hope. You have the path to better enable hope and quality of life with your simple connection and presence. So go, get that ice cream cone. Laugh at the dinner table. Spend too long talking in the gas station because we all need each other right now. Thank you.